You know those absolutely stunning product animations you see online? The ones that just pull you into a different world? Well, have you ever stopped to wonder what really goes into making them? Today, we're going to deconstruct a project that built an entire magical world, all for just 15 seconds of screen time. Let's dive in and see how this dreamy vision became a digital reality, especially on a super tight deadline. Okay, just take a look at this. It's this lush, vibrant fairy tale world, right? You can almost feel the sea breeze. You can almost hear the animals. Now, what if I told you that this entire incredibly detailed scene, the moving animals, the light, everything, was built to exist for only 15 seconds? That's it.
And that's the big question, isn't it? When you're trying to create something this complex, this beautiful, and the clock is ticking, how do you even start? What kind of challenges pop up? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
So we're going to follow the whole creative journey here through 5 key stages. We'll kick things off with the initial idea, the dreamy brief. Then we'll see how they actually built the world in crafting a digital forest. After that, we hit the big hurdle in complexity and a deadline, see how they worked through it in the art of revision, and finally, we'll get to see the amazing result in the final 15 seconds. Okay, so every great project has to start with an idea, and this one was, well, pretty ambitious. The goal wasn't just to show a product. No, it was to transport the viewer and the product itself into a completely different magical world. And this slide right here really gets to the core of the whole challenge. On the left, you've got the inspiration, this super ethereal, magical piece of art. Then on the right, you've got the very real physical product. So the mission? Fuse them. Build a digital world that felt just as magical as that painting, but was also believable enough to showcase the product. That's a tricky balance to strike. So, with that vision locked in, it was time for the team to roll up their sleeves and start building this fantasy world, literally pixel by pixel. This is where all the digital craftsmanship really kicks in.
But, before they could even think about building the forest, they had to build the product. So using a ton of detailed photos for reference, every single bottle, box, and tube was meticulously recreated as a perfect 3D model. This is so important. It's the anchor of reality in the whole dreamscape they're about to create. Now, the key here was making this scene feel truly alive. It couldn't just be a pretty picture. So they planned a whole little ecosystem. You've got this lush, grassy seaside. You have an animated deer that actually moves its head, a rabbit nibbling on grass, and this brilliant idea of a foliage opening that frames the ocean. Every single element was designed to move and breathe. But here's the thing. Building a world this beautiful comes with a massive catch. This is where that dreamy vision slams into the hard reality of computer processing power and, of course, that tight turnaround. Every single one of those beautiful little details has a hidden cost: time. This sentence just captures it perfectly, doesn't it? It's the central problem of pretty much any high-end animation. The more detail you pack in to make something look realistic and gorgeous, the more horsepower it demands from your computers. And that slows everything down, from editing to rendering that final video. And on a project with a quick turnaround, these details were incredibly demanding. The artist called them heavy, heavy scenes. And you can see why. Rendering dense grass means the computer has to draw literally thousands of individual blades. The physics for animal fur are super complex because every single one of those thousands of hairs has to react to light and wind. And the lighting, oh man, that means calculating how every ray of light bounces off of every single surface, every leaf, every petal, to get that soft, realistic glow. All of that is just a huge amount of work for a computer. So how in the world do you get client feedback when a single full-quality picture could take hours to render? Well, here's a really clever workaround. To get the thumbs up on camera moves and the general layout, the team sent a preview in what they call a clay view. It's basically a stripped-down version. No color, no textures, no fur, just the basic gray shapes. This let them get that crucial feedback on timing and flow, while the super heavy-duty rendering could cook overnight. Pretty smart, right? And getting that feedback is just so vital, especially when you're under pressure. So this next phase is all about that back and forth, that collaboration between the client and the creative team to really nail down those details and get them just right. For instance, in one of the early versions, the client felt the grass right next to the product was a little too long, maybe a bit sparse. The feedback was to get a look that was shorter, denser, and more lush. Almost like a perfectly manicured magical meadow. So the team went right back to it, based on those notes, they tweaked the size of the grass blades, they adjusted where the flowers were, and they refined all the textures. And what you're seeing here is the result of that teamwork, a much richer, more detailed ground that just frames the product perfectly.
All right, so after all of the modeling, the rendering, the back and forth revisions, it all comes together. All that intense work, all those hours, it all culminates in the final approved animation. Let's walk through it.
The animation kicks off with this wonderful sense of discovery. The camera just glides forward, pushing through this beautiful, almost heart-shaped opening in the flowers and leaves. It really gives you the feeling that you're entering some kind of secret, magical place.
And as we pass through that archway, the very first thing we see is the deer. It's alive, it's alert, it's looking out at the ocean. And that immediately tells us this is a living, breathing world, not just some static background.
And then the camera continues to pull back, and as it does, it reveals more of the scene. There's the little rabbit quietly eating grass, and then, nestled perfectly in this little meadow, the final product is revealed. It's such a gentle, elegant moment that makes the product feel like it truly belongs in this enchanting world.
And all of that, the modeling, the lighting, the first simulation, the revisions, the countless hours of a computer just churning away, it all comes down to this: 15 seconds. It's an incredible amount of artistry and engineering all distilled into a single tiny moment designed to capture your imagination. It really makes you appreciate the difference between just, endless content and truly crafted content. There's a special kind of power in the precision and the effort it takes to make every single frame count. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought. When every second is crafted with this much care, what story could you tell?